Hello, I'm Signe Friedrichs. I put my sign up because frequently when I'm speaking in front of people, I completely forget who I am and what I do. I run the Council for the Arts of Herndon, so I'm very Herndon-centric, and this is going to be a Herndon-centric talk. But I hope that it translates into a bigger question, which is, what is the surprising truth about your local art scene? I come from Massachusetts. My family is all musicians, photographers, pianists, you name it. We're all doing it. And so I grew up doing outdoor dramatics, as you see, and playing the piano. And eventually, it just seemed to me that was what everybody did. You get up in the summer and you say, okay, well, what amateur dramatics will I get up to? And that's what you do. So my dad took these pictures, and I'm showing them to you. I moved to Herndon in 20 years ago, about 1996, and it took me a really long time to find the art scene here. I know it was there because it's everywhere, and I'm very well aware that every community is full of people who do art and who do music and who show it, but I couldn't find it. When I moved to Herndon, it was a very well-manicured, lawned, suburban area. There wasn't a lot of signage, so it was kind of hard to find, the things that you knew that were there. The internet was in its infancy in 1996, so it wasn't like I could just go online and everybody had a website. Nobody had a website. Well, maybe they did, but I couldn't find it. So probably about maybe 10 years into my time here in Herndon, because I was going all over the place and working outside of Herndon, I started working for the Chamber of Commerce. And believe it or not, that's where I met my first artist in Herndon. A lot of businessmen and women, it turns out, are artists in their free time. And there are obvious economic reasons for that. And in the course of the events, my boss, who was the president of the Chamber of Commerce, decided to step off a board that she was on and asked me to see if I could fulfill her term. And she was on the Council for the Arts of Herndon board. Eventually, I discovered that this was my passion. Community art is my passion. So if you're anything like me, every day you look at the news and sometimes something will pop out at you. And what's been popping out at me lately is studies showing that the arts are really, really important, but not for art. So dancing apparently decreases your likelihood of dementia. What else? Oh, there's good stuff. Reading music makes school children better at math and science. Singing makes you more mentally alert and happy, although I think our last example maybe didn't show that. And painting expands your brain. I could add to that economic studies that show that depressed economic areas become more economically vibrant when art venues and arts retail are added. So think of going to Old Town Manassas or Stanton or any little cute, quaint town that you go to. Those areas are more dynamic because people go into the restaurants or they go to the arts location and they go into the restaurant. There's a sort of symbiotic relationship. So why is it that the economics is so much more important than the actual art itself? A lot of this has to do with the economic climate. Obviously, in tight economic times, people allocate their funds differently than they do in times of plenty. So both individuals, but more importantly, government entities can't really spend the money that allows an arts organization to maintain its even keel. Most people who work in an arts organization volunteer their time because there's no money. As you know from raising money for cancer, for kids who have cancer, it's really important to take care of the structural things that make our society important. And so art often gets treated as if it's a luxury and if it has no value except maybe, like an ice cream cone at the end of the day. So what I want to argue to you is twofold. First, that art has value in itself. A friend of mine who's now a professional spoken word artist sent me an email when I talked about what I was planning to do. And he has made a living all his life at art, and he wrote to me, "Isn't it enough that students with a background in music make beautiful music? Where are the studies showing that kids who study math write more beautiful harmonies? Can we really see no value in teaching children the arts other than that it might make them good at something else?" But as we know, the economic reality is that very few people in history have made their living 100% from the arts. We all know of a few. Julian Schnabel is famous. He's always in Vanity Fair. There's Charles Dickens, who wrote for the newspapers. All of his fabulous novels were actually serialized in the newspapers. You know, Maria Callas, Louis Armstrong. But there are also really famous and important artists that we know of who couldn't make a living at art. And I draw your mind back to Leonardo da Vinci. He was a military engineer, one of the greatest artists who ever lived. Vladimir Nabokov taught English for a living. Charles Ives, who's a great, world-renowned composer, sold insurance and was very, very good at it. So what is the takeaway from this? What is it that is surprising about art in your local scene? Well, part of it is that it's thriving. Who would have expected, with what I just told you, that art would be thriving in your local community? It is extremely important to the community's economic and social life, and very little of it is funded by public money. I'd like to show you some of the things that my organization has been doing in the past year or two. This is a mural that is in Herndon on the Dominion Animal Hospital. It was a project. We raised money for it by selling animal portraits. People from all over town got to participate in a mural that decorates their town. And now when you go to the farmer's market, which you should always go to, you will walk past this beautiful, bright, sunny, exciting picture. This also supported an artist. It gave him money so that he could put his kids through college. So it's a community thing, it's an art thing, it's very, very important. This is the Book in a Day Poetry Workshop, and unbeknownst to me, this guy was just about to win the Newbery Award for fiction. He wrote a novel called The Crossover. His name is Kwame Alexander, and he does a selfie with all of the kids that he does his workshops with, and I just love this one because you can see them just acting up. So my organization raised the money to pay for Kwame to go into the elementary schools and talk to kids about becoming poets. He is very successful and supports his family as a poet. We also provide artist receptions, so local artists who aren't famous and who haven't had shows yet will put their art in public places. In this case, it happens to be Jasmine Cafe. There's a little reception, and they sell their art. This is an elementary school class. We paid for them to have percussion works. Percussion works is actually playing off the STEM to STEAM concept that I mentioned to you earlier. The idea that if you can read music, it's going to make you better at other things. So we use those kind of studies to our own advantage. And this is a scholarship competition. My organization has a scholarship competition every year for children who are really good with technology and creating art. So this is one of the winning photographs in a previous year. So Council for the Arts of Herndon gives scholarships. It supports students and it supports seniors with arts outreach. We'll pay for classes. It supports public art to make areas more livable and more beautiful. My takeaway for you is the arts don't fund themselves. We get a certain amount of public money, which is very, very much needed. And then we spend most of our year raising money so that we can help artists survive and the arts survive. So I encourage you, if you know people who have disposable income or corporations that have disposable income, see if you can convince them to send at least some of that money in the direction of the arts. I know there are other places it needs to go to, but the arts are not negligible. The arts allow people who don't speak the same language to communicate. They allow people who are of different ages to communicate. I read that Lady Gaga sings with Tony Bennett, which knocked my socks right off. It allows, in such a diverse community that the world lives in now, it's more important than ever that we be able to communicate in some way that is not related to politics or religion or anything like that. So arts is one of those ways. Please go to all of your local events. If there's an art form that you adore, do it. Go to it. It's not going to last forever if we don't support it. The main way that arts are supported is through individual donations, volunteership, and sponsorships. And without you, we can't do it. And this isn't just to say, you know, please help us out. This is a luxury and we want to keep it. This is really vital. This is important. It wasn't just the Chamber of Commerce that brought me back to arts. It was a wonderful collaboration between locals and their government to create a space, a place for art. And that place for art is called Art Space. When I went in there, it was full of people who loved drama and who loved painting. There were choruses rehearsing in there. You could take painting classes. All of a sudden, there was a home for art in Herndon. And that's not negligible. That's the place where you go to find what you're looking for. And I think, you know, the gentleman who went before me missed the arts in his life. I too missed the arts in my life. It took me years to get back to singing, and it changed my life. And I hope you find the thing in your life that is changed by art too. My takeaway now is, what is the most surprising thing about your local art scene? I hope it will be you and your participation. Thank you.